For the better part of the last 2 seasons, Brendan Gallagher hasn't had his fair share with the refs. In a post-game interview, he came out and said he felt targeted. On this week's Four Downs, we're talking about refs. Is it fair for them to have a double standard for certain players? As always, we invite you to join us on our social networks at facebook.com/RBTL Sports, as well as on Twitter at RBTL Sports. We're pleased to welcome this man right here, otherwise known as Uncle Mike from the Uncle Mike Show. Very successful podcast. Great to see you. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
We have RBTL contributor David Hurley. Great to see you again.
Great to be back.
And last but not least, our co-host Anthony Cornelli. Great to see you as well.
Awesome.
All right, gentlemen, he came out in an interview. Safe to say it was a pretty controversial comment that he made about him being targeted by the refs. Were you shocked by that? What was your initial reaction?
I was shocked that he actually came out and he said it during an interview with CBC. I mean, that's something you usually hear about in the newspapers or maybe on the radio, not on national television. But there is a double standard on some players. I mean, look at Sidney Crosby. He's getting all the calls. You look at the NFL, you got Peyton Manning getting all the calls, Tom Brady. It's just a natural tendency. Some refs do have a tendency to pick on some guys when they do things like Brad Marchand, like Gallagher. There's guys that do that in the league, and refs step up and try and take it away from them.
But on the flip side, Kerry Fraser came out and said, you know what, these guys are embellishing. And Montreal's known, unfortunately, as a team that embellishes a little bit and draws penalties. Kerry Fraser came out and said, look, we do have, indirectly through his article that he wrote, we do have a most wanted list. Is it fair for the refs to do that, especially considering the fact that there's a little bit of the blame to put on the players as well, is there not?
I think it's just human nature. I believe that just like he mentioned, in the NFL, there's players that get the calls. In soccer, we've seen Luis Suarez dive so many times. Well, refs take notes, and we're all human. Eventually, your past is always going to dictate your future. So if you do have a track record, it's going to follow you around. So, of course, I was as shocked as my homeboy here when he said on national TV to come out and put it out there.
I don't think we've ever seen that before either.
But I think
I get fined
for
it too. That's
but I think what Brendan Gallagher said, a lot of people are thinking that. We're all surprised that he came out and said it. Right. But why should we fine Brendan Gallagher? I mean, these striped Napoleons get away with bad calls week in and week out, cost teams games in the playoffs, and there's never any repercussions with the refs. It's always on the player side. In soccer, ref has a bad game.
In soccer, they've got it. They've got
ref
it right,
has a bad game. They review. We have TV. We have video replay. They review the situation. He gets suspended for 4 games. He gets demoted to the 2nd division. He doesn't ref a game in Serie A.
But isn't that a gray area, though? But isn't that a gray area for a ref where you're saying, look, you know, there's so much responsibility on the ref, but let's call a spade here. The players know how to work the system. They know exactly where that threshold of a non-call
They're getting smarter and smarter as the years go on. And the refs are getting smarter too. And these players are trying to mock these refs.
Yeah.
So eventually...
Because they don't want to be embarrassed either,
Of course, because it is the same national audience that you're putting your talents in front of. Well, these refs are as talented. It takes a lot of testicular fortitude, bro, to be able to call an offside, to be able to give that yellow card, to be able to call that penalty. And these guys have to know the respect, and I'm talking about the players. And that's where I think it comes in, the respect
factor. A guy like
factor.
Gallagher comes to the net, I mean, he's the main example. When
he
crashes the net hard. He's got a tendency of really catching the ref's eye. What happens is the ref will give him the penalty, give him the benefit of the doubt. He'll watch the game afterwards. And all these refs do this, and they have to. There's a review board. In the NHL playoffs, some of these refs, if they make a terrible call, they're not reffing for the rest of the playoffs. It happens in the league. And as soon as you get to the further rounds, the guys that made a bad call, they're off golfing. They're not playing. They're not reffing.
But don't you think that there's a double standard in the sense that you'd rather make the call than not?
You do, but in the NHL, like we're talking to a specific league, that's the league where goals come mostly on the power play. So you're going to give a team an opportunity because a guy dove and you know he has a history of diving. So of course there's going to be less of a tendency of them taking a penalty on the team.
We've all played amateur sport, and it happens in the amateur leagues. You know the certain refs in your amateur leagues, whether it be a garage hockey league, garage soccer league, and they know which guys are the embellishers, and they give the fouls. But why should an NHL team be punished in the playoffs or an important game because of a ref's ego to make a call on a so-called blacklisted or black book player like Kerry Fraser? Kerry Fraser said that Brendan Gallagher is in this blacklisted.
But what I've seen and what I love about the NHL, when the playoffs start, the whistle is in the pocket. We've seen borderline.
I disagree with Mike.
Not game 5, game 6. Actually, not game 6, game 7. They let them play in game 7.
The rules of the game don't change, whether it be preseason, regular season, or playoffs. And I agree with Mike saying that the whistle disappears in the playoffs. Why? Yes, there's more importance on
Because
these games.
you don't want the referee to call the game. You just said it. There's a lot of goals that scored on the power play. And in this game, it's just a couple of centimeters one side or the other.
Everybody's fighting for that edge, right?
Of course.
I mean, what I liked was last weekend on the Monday night game, on the Sunday night game, where you had Odell Beckham go out of bounds. He kind of flopped it. The ref said the player went out of bounds and flopped. I've never seen that before
I loved
in the
it.
NFL.
And
It was
you know
a great
what?
call.
We were watching it at a bar, in a local bar, and I said to my friend, I can't believe, did you
ref said
see
that.
that?
Yeah, yeah,
I can't
yeah.
believe the ref called
Taking a
that.
stand.
Unbelievable.
It's like when the ref called
That's
giving him the
chapeau, my
business
man.
a couple years
Yeah,
back.
of course,
Well,
man.
something else that's unbelievable is a soccer player named Lionel Messi. Gentlemen, don't go anywhere. I want to keep the same energy. I want to talk to you about Lionel Messi. Is he the greatest of all time? I know it's a polarizing topic. We'll touch up on that. But before we do that, I want to bring some attention to you about a Christmas drive that's happening right here in Montreal. It's happening this Sunday, November 30th. The Optimist Club in Ile-Bizard will be collecting food or financial donations. For more information, please call 514-793-9200. It is a great initiative and it deserves our support. Stay with us. The Pretender Contender segment is up next.